The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and the team lists have dropped on Team List Tuesday for round 15 in the NRL. A very special round in the NRL. It is Beanies for Brain Cancer round, an initiative started up by the Mark Hughes Foundation. They do a great job raising money for brain cancer research. They have in their history, I think it's 8-year history, they have raised over $30 million. So congratulations to the Mark Hughes Foundation and all the punters who have bought a beanie and donations, and everyone who's done treks and donated to those treks as well. Congratulations and well done to everybody involved there. Look, if you are listening, if you are in Sydney and you are hearing this podcast on Wednesday morning at 9:30 at Allianz Stadium, there is a get-together launching this Beanies for Brain Cancer round. Now, it is something that I have been to for the last couple of years. After the launch at Allianz Stadium, there will be a walk down to the Sydney Opera House. And as I've said, I've done it the last couple of years. It is very enjoyable. There is celebrities there, rugby league players there, and they love to have a chat, get some selfies and the like. And look, if it's going to be fine weather, which I hope it is, then it's a great day walking down by the harbour, see the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House as well. But 9:30 at Allianz Stadium, get on down there if you can, and if you can't, then get a beanie. They are available at Lowe's shops across Australia and selected IGAs, and also they will be available at this weekend's games. So I'm going to get one for sure, and look, show my support. And look, I'll be doing some posts I'll try and do some posts during the week as well, and get in contact with some of the former guests that I've had on the show, Aquila Uarte, David Gatt as well. I'll see if I can hook up with them during their walk and see how they're going and see how their progress is. They are walking from Sydney to Newcastle, I think it is. We'll just have to wait and see how they're going in that walk. But as I said, it is round 15 in the NRL, and the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, they have the bye this week. So they are the only team to have the bye. So it's back to relatively a normal round with 8 games this weekend. Now, look, if you've been following my tips over the last 3 weeks, I feel sorry for you. I have not been doing well at all. I think I got 3 out of 7 last week. I think there was 1 out of 5 the week before. Absolutely tragic. I don't know whether that is my tipping or if that is the standard of rugby league where upsets can happen. Who we tip doesn't win. Upsets can happen. The closest of the competition. I don't know what it is. But look, I'm sorry if you have been following my tips. I really do feel sorry for you. I'm disappointed about my form, and I'm tipping as good as what the Parramatta Eels are doing at the moment in the NRL. But look, I'm going to still give it a crack, and please, if you want to, follow my tips. You don't have to, but let me know if I've got them right or if I've got them wrong. I'd really like to know your feedback and how you're going in tipping this year. The first game on Thursday night, 7:50 p.m, is at PointsBet Stadium in Sydney, Cronulla. So that's the Cronulla Sharks, who are in second position on the ladder, taking on the Dolphins from Redcliffe, who are in fourth position. Now, along with the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, the Dolphins have certainly improved in 2024, and this is an away trip for them, an away game. I think they've had most games in Queensland. I think they've played over in New Zealand as well. But this is in New South Wales, so a bit of a road trip for the Dolphins. Now, previously they have played, and it was actually at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. The Dolphins got the win that day, 36 points to 16. So that was a massive win for them. And look, the Dolphins, as I said, they've been playing some good footy, and they get back their origin hero, I guess you could say. Look, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow back at fullback. How good did he go in the origin for Queensland on Wednesday night in Game 1? He scored 3 tries. He was on fire. So great for the Dolphins fans for him to be back in the side. Felice Kafusi is back as well. Jeremy Marshall-King, he just re-signed with the Dolphins for another couple of years, so that's great news for him. We always see a player who's re-signed with their club generally play better footy after that re-signing, the first time after that re-signing anyway, so he's been playing some good footy this year anyway. Cody Nikorima, he captains the side at 5'8", this week with Jesse Bromwich out through injury. His brother Kenny, he goes into the front row position, so interesting there one for him. And look, the big news for Sharkies fans is that Nicho Hynes is back into that halfback position for the Cronulla Sharks. A massive in there. And look, he had probably a disappointing game in Origin from his standards, I would think. But he's back at halfback, and for the Cronulla Sharks, back at home, he will want to put in a big performance and potentially hold off Mitchell Moses getting that halfback position for New South Wales. Braden Trindle, who was at halfback, had a blinder of a game last week and against the Broncos, and look, he goes back to 5'8", where he plays when Nico's in the side. So unfortunately, Daniel Atkinson, who was replacing Braden Trindle during his off-field dramas, his stand-down period, goes to 18th man. So, look, Daniel Atkinson, he's been playing some good footy this year. Certainly won the game, I think, for the Sharks against the Storm a few weeks ago now. Scored a try against Parramatta. But he's only young, so he'll get plenty more shots for first grade. And this year's good experience for him. Look, this could potentially be the game of the round on Thursday night. Sharks and Dolphins. Look, I'm going to tip the Sharks only because it's at home, but this is going to be a very close game. I think it could be a high-scoring game, but I think the Sharks, they sort of build a little bit of a fortress there at Shark Park. They don't tend to lose that too many games there, if any. So, look, they got unfortunately flogged by the Panthers last time they played at home. So, look, it's been a while. It's been 3 weeks since they've been at home. So they'll be desperate to get a win in front of their home fans. The Dolphins, they're coming off 2 losses and a bye. So, yeah, I'm going to tip the Sharks in this one, but only just in a high-scoring game. Friday night sees the Raiders take on the Cowboys down there in Canberra. GIO Stadium, 6 p.m. on Friday. Hudson Young returns to the Canberra Raiders in the second row position after Origin duty. And, look, their young halves, Ethan Strange, KO Weeks, have been setting the world on fire. Ethan Strange is probably right up there as potentially the rookie of the year so far. They have, with Jamal Fogarty out, KO Weeks has gone into that halfback position, and he had a great game against the Dolphins 2 weeks ago now. And look, this Canberra side, they are a little bit underrated, a little bit. They go about their business, and they sort of win games, close games. They do have the unfortunate part of having a negative 4 and against, negative 37 in the top 8. So that is always a blow if you have a negative difference in the top 8, but currently they're sitting in 5th position, having 7 wins. They've already had 2 byes this year, one more to come, but 7 wins. Jordan Rapana, he kicked 2 field goals, his first 2 field goals in his career. Last game against the Dolphins, he's back at fullback as well. So this is probably their strongest side. Just missing probably Jamal Fogarty, but other than that, it's still a pretty good-looking team. Tom Dearden comes back into the side. He did play last week, but he was in jumper number 21 or something like that, but he's in the number 6. He's back as captain, or he was captain anyway last week as well, but number 6 for him. Chad Townsend, number 7. Jeremiah Nanai comes back from Origin duty. Ruben Cotter as well. Reece Robson, who had a good game for New South Wales. They are all back for the Cowboys. Jake Clifford is the only one out there. So, look, the Cowboys, they are up and down this season, aren't they? They can sort of win a game and then lose a game. They got flogged by the Warriors up there in Townsville, 42 points to 12 last start. And as I mentioned before, the Canberra Raiders 26-25 over the Dolphins at Redcliffe. But before that, the Cowboys were 3 in a row against the Roosters, Tigers and Rabbitohs. But this season they have sort of been up and down. They do sit in a 12th spot on the ladder, 7 wins as well. They haven't had any byes this season, so they are the only side not to have any byes, which is a bit strange considering some teams have had 2 and others have had just 1, but the Cowboys have had none. So very strange there. So 7 wins for them. They sit on 14 points at the moment, and negative 4 and against as well. But look, Canberra, again, it is very hard to win. I'm going to tip Canberra in this one. The next game on Friday night, 2 games on Friday night, back to regular broadcasting, is the Rabbitohs taking on the Broncos at Accor Stadium, 8 p.m. Now, obviously, for the Broncos, the big out is obviously Reece Walsh, who will miss this game and he missed the last game and this one. And he'll be under the HIA protocol, so he will be monitored in his recovery and looking to be picked for Origin 2, which is in about 2 weeks or so. So Tristan Saylor gets that fullback spot like he did last week. Look, this is a pretty standard side for the Broncos. It's looking quite good. I think, look, last week though, they were disappointing against the Sharks. I think they had a 12-4 lead in the first half, and then the Sharks have overrun them. So I think they'll be disappointed about that. That was at Suncorp Stadium. This one's at Accor Stadium. The Rabbitohs, on the other hand, they had a massive win against the Titans after coming off a bye, 46 points to 12, and a good return for Cody Walker and also Latrell Mitchell as well, putting himself into that Origin frame. So that is something that he will want to try and get in there to Origin. Obviously, with Joseph Swali'i being suspended, there is a centre spot open. So a lot of people have been calling for Latrell. He's a big game player. He certainly turned it on last week. If he plays well again this week as well, I don't see the problem and having him in the New South Wales side. The big news for Rabbitohs fans is Cameron Murray. He's named on the interchange bench, back from injury. So a big in for the Rabbitohs. Their inspirational leader, Cameron Murray, back onto the interchange bench as well. Just easing back into this side after injury. So, look, this is, I don't know. The Rabbitohs, they smashed the Titans. The Broncos, they went down to the Sharks. You would think, look, the Rabbitohs in 16th spot on the ladder. The Broncos in 8th. I might go the Rabbitohs I'm going to go the Rabbitohs in this one. I think this could be the upset game of the round. I'm going to go the Rabbitohs in this one. I just think, I'm going to go the Rabbitohs. I think they may have just turned a corner last week, and they may be on a bit of a roll. So I'm going to go the Rabbitohs on that one. That can be my upset tip of the round, I think. It can be a bit of a hard one to choose. Saturday, 3 p.m, Leichhardt Oval. The 8th wonder of the world, apparently. The Tigers take on the Titans. 15th versus 17th. So, look, really interesting in this one. Jaden Sullivan and Lachlan Galvin are out due to injury, and they've got a new look starting halves. Aiden Caesar in at 5'8", and Appy Coruscant, who obviously captains the Tigers, in at halfback. So that'll be interesting to see how that one goes. They've got a pretty sort of inexperienced forward pack there. Most notably, they've got they're probably their most experienced players there, Alex Twell and Stefano Utukamanu. A lot of news about him potentially wanting to leave the club, as with Lachlan Galvin as well. But look, this is looks like a young side for the Tigers. Jareem Buller has been named at fullback. And they're just that interesting half 5'8" there. We all know Aiden Caesar is a halfback, but it's interesting to see Appy Coruscant at halfback as well. We know him as a hooker, but interesting to see him there. Adam Dewey has been named on the extended bench in jumper number 23, coming back from an ACL injury. He will probably play New South Wales Cup, but he is on that extended bench, so great to see him back and playing footy. The Gold Coast Titans, Jaden Campbell is in at 5'8", Kieran Foran, captain, halfback. So again, another interesting halves combination there. We all know what a quality player Jaden Campbell is at fullback. Will he be able to do that at 5'8"? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see on Saturday. David Fafita, he'll be wanting to try and push his case to get into that Queensland side. So it'll be interesting to see how he can do that. And look, I'm going to tip the Gold Coast in this one. I think they may be able to get this win. I'm just not too sure about these Tigers forward pack. Very inexperienced there. And I think the Gold Coast will get this one. They are playing slightly better football than the Tigers. The Tigers have had about 9 losses in a row. There's things going on off the field as well. They are in 17th spot on the ladder now. They are unfortunately looking towards possibly their 3rd straight wooden spoon. I'm going to tip the Gold Coast in that one. The next game sees the Warriors take on the Storm at Go Media Stadium over there in Auckland. The Storm sitting pretty on top of the ladder. The Warriors in 10th and needing to get this win. The Warriors, they're in quite fine form at the moment. 3 straight wins, which all started back at Magic Round, 22-20 against the Panthers. Then they got a win at home against the Dolphins, 24-20, and then a win away, a good win, 42 points to 12 against the Cowboys at Townsville. The Storm, they had a win against the Knights, close game but high-scoring one. They lost to the Sea Eagles and they beat the Parramatta Eels in Magic Round. So 3 out of their last 5, just like the Warriors. Look, last time they met was early this year. The Storm got the win, 30 points to 26 in that one. So it could again be a close game for sure. But look, for you Warriors fans, and I know you're listening over there in New Zealand, the big in for you guys is Shaun Johnson. How good to see Shaun Johnson back into this team. Absolutely great, I think it is. Chanel Harris-Tavita is the number 14, goes back to the bench. Kurt Capel as well. But great to see Shaun Johnson back. And just what about that try that Chance Nickel-Clockstar scored last week in Townsville with that bat back from Dallin Watini-Zelezniak? How good was that? Look, the Melbourne Storm, that's a pretty strong lineup for them, and not many changes from last start's team against Newcastle. Still Tyrone Wishart in at 5'8" for Cameron Munster, Jerome Hughes in at halfback. Look, they are a well-oiled machine, this Melbourne Storm team under Craig Bellamy. Up against the Warriors team who flogged the Cowboys last week. Interesting one. It's probably going to be another sellout over there in New Zealand. I'm going to tip the New Zealand Warriors in this one. This could potentially be another upset, but I think they may get the win in that one. The game that I will be at on Saturday, so if you see me out and about, come and say good day. Eels, 14th position, taking on the Roosters in 6th position at Combank Stadium, Saturday, 7:35 p.m. The ins for the home side, Parramatta. Mike Acevo comes back into the wing position, which puts Sean Russell back into the centre, Blaze Talangi onto the wing. So a little bit of changes in the back line there. For the forwards are unchanged from last week. On Dijan Arce goes onto the interchange bench, number 14. Makahesi Makatoa goes number 17. Wiramu Greg drops to 18th man, and Joey Lussick goes back to the extended reserves bench. So a pretty strong looking team there from Parramatta, probably their strongest team that they could field, I think. Obviously Bailey Simonson would be in that side if he was fit. Unfortunately he's injured, so other than that, that's probably close, if not their strongest team that they could name. So very interesting there for the Roosters, who had the bye last week. So always difficult coming up against a team quality like the Roosters after a bye. So all their Origin players return for them. The big news for the Roosters is Brandon Smith has been dropped out of this side now. A little bit of off-field drama happening there at the Roosters with Brandon Smith. Apparently he missed a a training session, I think it was. The club served him with a breach notice. Apparently it may not be the first thing that's happened there, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm only going off what the media says. But he has been dropped for this week, with Connor Watson coming into that hooker position. So, interesting one there. Michael Jennings, 18th man, could potentially play up against his old club, the Parramatta Eels. Spencer Leniu, who, as I said in my Origin review podcast, he was one of the better New South Wales players, I thought, on that night. He's on the bench, so great, good for the Roosters to have some sort of strike there on the bench there, and I'm sure once he gets onto the field he will want to fire up his team with some big hits and the like, and some strong runs. Luke Keary, Sam Walker, they've been travelling pretty well. Look, James Tedesco at fullback there. Interesting note that both the captains for each team are playing fullback. James Tedesco, he was okay for New South Wales, I thought, in that game 1. He returns back to fullback for the Roosters after having the week off with the bye. Memories of this game, obviously Michael Sevo running over the top in James Tedesco in, I think, what was it, 2020 perhaps? So, obviously, Teddy won't want a repeat of that, but Para fans would, because Micah scored. So, look, this is going to be a close game, a very close game, I think. I think it'll be under 20 points for each team, and I think Parramatta can get this win. They had a good first half last week against the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, yesterday, I should say. So they had a good first half there. They just couldn't go on with it in the second half. Mitchell Moses at halfback, he will want to have a blinder of a game to once again put himself in the spotlight of the Origin selectors for that halfback spot. So I expect him to have a big game. Dylan Brown was a little bit quiet against the Bulldogs, I thought. Clint Gutherson was Clint Gutherson. So I expect the Parramatta Eels to get this win only just, even though the Roosters go in as favourites. So I'm tipping Parramatta in that one. 2 games on the Sunday to wrap up the round. The Sea Eagles and the Dragons at 4 Pines Park, Brookvale Oval. Sees the Sea Eagles take on the Dragons. 2 p.m. on Sunday. Really interesting game, this one. The Dragons, they got the win against the Sea Eagles. I think that was down in Wynn Stadium, where they seemed to grow a leg. Yes, it was. They seemed to grow a leg down there at Wynn Stadium. You saw the performance they put on against the Tigers last week, scoring 56 points, I think it was. So they got the win against the Sea Eagles that night. But again, the Sea Eagles, they are a different team at 4 Pines Park. They turn that into a little bit of a fortress over there. They, as I said, they went okay against the Panthers up at Penrith last week. Didn't get the win. Certainly tried their hardest. Tommy Talau scored 4 tries in a losing side. How about that? So, yeah, great stuff from Tommy there. Daly Cherry Evans, Luke Brooks at halves. That'll be a good battle against Kyle Flanagan and Ben Hunt as well. Again, both are captains are halfbacks, both Queenslanders as well, so that'll be interesting to see how they go. Nathan Brown has got the start at prop this week, which is interesting to see. Mostly this season he has been coming off the bench. So that'll be interesting to see. Obviously, his off the back fence runs, off kickoffs and dropouts. How good are they? Love seeing those. But Ben Travojevic, Jake Travojevic, Zach Lomax for the Dragons, he was unreal last week. A club record 32 points, I think it was, for the Dragons. Ben Hunt has been playing better for the Dragons. Who would have thought he wanted to leave them at the start of the year? Looks like he's settled down there. I think Manly will be too strong. Sunday afternoon football at 4 Points Park. Sorry, Flano. I think they will be too strong. The Dragons, as I said, they'll be going for their third win in a row. They smashed the Tigers last week. They got the Premiers 22 points to 10 up there at Penrith. That was a great win. The Sea Eagles, they've dipped out a bit of form, so they will want to try and get back into that top 8. Only one win out of their last 5, so out of these two sides, the Dragons are the form team, 3 out of their last 5, but the Sea Eagles, they will want to get a win and get back up on that ladder. So I'm going to tip the Sea Eagles in that one. And the last game of the round, last game of Beanies for Brain Cancer round sees the Newcastle Knights take on the Penrith Panthers. 13th plays 3rd. Up there at Newcastle, McDonald Jones Stadium, 4:05 p.m. The good news for the Newcastle Knights is Bradman Best is back from injury into that centre position. Fletcher Sharp, who made his debut last week playing in the centres, goes back to fullback. They've stuck with Jack Cogger and Jackson Hastings as the halves combination. Look, I tell you, one player who has been playing really well and impressed me is Dylan Lucas. He's on the interchange bench. He's been playing some good footy. I think scored a try last week against Melbourne. So, look, the same sort of side from last week, only, I guess, Daniel Saifiti and Bradman Best are the only ones that are back into these side from last week. Newcastle up there, they'll have a lot of support up there. Could be another sellout as well. The crowds are flying this year. It's great to see the crowds at the NRL this year with teams selling out games. 45,000 at the Canterbury Parramatta game, unreal. Set a I think a record between those two clubs in a regular club game. Look, they're going to find it tough to do against these Penrith Panthers who never seem to go away. Still no Nathan Cleary, so Jack Cole and Jerome Luai are the half 5/8. The big news for the Panthers is Dylan Edwards returns from a quad injury, I think it was, that ruled him out of State of Origin game number 1. So he is back at fullback, so good news for the Panthers there, massive boost. But look, this is Dane Laurie. He goes back to the interchange bench number 14. But look, this is still a really strong side as well, as you would expect the Panthers to be. Liam Martin is named at number 20, so I'm not too sure if he will play or not. Just have to wait closer to game day. Look, I think Newcastle will do it tough. They'll stand up and do a good job against them, like they did against the Melbourne Storm, but I think the Panthers will get the win in this one. So, recapping the tips, get your pens and papers ready, and let's see if I can pick the winners for you. But as I said previously, you don't have to follow me because I've been going pretty terrible. But anyway, get your pen and papers ready and jot these down. These are going to be the winning tips for this round 15. Sharks, Raiders, Rabbitohs, Titans, Warriors, Eels, Sea Eagles, Panthers. There you go. That's going to be a perfect round. I can feel it in my bones that I'm going to get a perfect round this week in the NRL. So thank you very much for listening. Really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments on the post on this one if you are going the same or different. Anyway, I will be at the Parramatta Roosters game on Saturday night at CommBank Stadium. If you see me out and about, come and say good day. But if your team is not Parramatta, if it's another team in the NRL, good luck to your team in this weekend. Enjoy your football. Thank you very much for listening, and stay tuned to the socials to see what is coming up this week on the podcast. Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you